Menlo Park Planning Commission. Established by state law, the commission is composed of 7 volunteer voting age residents appointed to 4-year terms by the city council. The planning commission is not a policy setting body, that's the city council. The planning commission is a policy implementing body. We review development proposals on public and private lands for compliance with our city's general plan and zoning ordinance, which can be found on the city's website. The commission reviews all development proposals requiring a use permit, architectural control, variance, minor subdivision, and environmental review associated with those projects. The commission is a final decision-making body for these applications unless appealed to the city council. The commission also serves as a recommending body to the city council for major subdivisions, rezoning, conditional development permits, zoning ordinance amendments, general plan amendments, and the environmental reviews and below market rate housing agreements associated with these projects. We work closely with staff in our city's planning division. They are responsible for coordinating enforcement of the zoning ordinance and related policies. Thank you for joining this evening. We encourage your active participation, whether you're an applicant or member of the public. There will be an opportunity to speak publicly during general public comment as well as for each agenda item. I'll turn to our clerk, Ms. Began, to explain how members of the public can participate during those public comment periods.
Thank you, Chair Doe. Regarding procedures for communicating, for those presenting on an item on tonight's agenda, we kindly ask that you turn on your microphone and webcam during your presentation for your item. During the public comment period, members of the public will have an opportunity to share their comments or questions by clicking on the hand icon on your screen, upon which staff will introduce you and activate the microphone. Alternatively, for those calling in to tonight's meeting, please press *9 on your keypad to notify staff that you have a comment. For any members of the public who are sharing a Zoom account or phone line with another commenter during this meeting, please inform staff at the start of your public comment, and staff will ensure that the other commenter speaks after you've finished your comment. If you are participating in person, please fill out a comment card and bring it to me. With that being said, I hand it back to you, Chair Doe.
Thank you. So this meeting is called to order, and we'll turn to item B, roll call. Commissioner Barnes?
Good evening. Present.
Commissioner Eric?
Present.
Commissioner Farrick?
Present.
Commissioner Riggs?
Present.
I am also present, so that makes 5 of us. Chair Harris and Commissioner Schindler are absent. Let's move to C, reports and announcements. Mr. Parada?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Vice Chair Doe and members of the Planning Commission. So a few updates or reports out from staff this evening. So just tomorrow night, there is a City Council meeting. There are a couple of items that staff feels might be of interest to the Planning Commission. So I'm going to give those updates real quick here. So tomorrow night, the City Council will consider a potential street closure of Santa Cruz Avenue in the 600 block for the eastbound travel lane. That is to allow for some expanded potential outdoor dining opportunities, as well as additional public plaza open space in kind of the current area, the exact same area of the current closure. At the same meeting tomorrow night, the council will also consider adopting formally the streetery ordinance to allow for expanded outdoor dining for restaurants throughout the city, not just in downtown, and then also consideration of design standards and guidelines and fees for the associated streeteries if those are adopted tomorrow evening, the ordinance that is. And that concludes my reports and announcements. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, so let's move to D, public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed in the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it's helpful. And the commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda and therefore cannot respond to non-agenda issues other than to provide general information. Ms. Began?
Thank you, Chair Doe. At this moment, I do not see any public comments.
Thanks. Maybe we'll just give it a few more moments. Still none?
I do not see any public comments or any hands raised at this moment.
Okay, let's go ahead and close D, public comment, and move to E, the consent calendar. We have a couple of items on the consent calendar. Does anyone on the commission wish to pull an item or make a motion? Commissioner Eric.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
First from Commissioner Eric.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Farrick. There's no other questions. We'll move to a vote. Commissioner Barnes,
Yes.
Commissioner Eric,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs.
Yes.
I am also a yes, so that's 5 yeses, and the consent calendar is approved. So we'll close E, consent calendar, and move to the public hearing. The first item is F1, use permit Sivas Singaram, 711 Central Avenue. Consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to demolish an existing single-story, single-family residence and construct a new 2-story single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot width in the R1U Single-Family Urban Residential Zoning District. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines, Section 15303's Class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal includes an attached accessory dwelling unit, which is not subject to discretionary review. And I believe Mr. Hochleitner, any updates or presentation?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, General Public. My name is Connor Hochleitner. I'm representing the Planning Department as an assistant planner on the project. I'm here to answer any questions for you. The applicant and their architect is here as well. They would like to just briefly describe the project to you. There was an email from the public that I believe you received this afternoon regarding the project about the tree in the side yard.
Will there be a presentation by the applicant as well, or?
Sorry. Yes, the applicant does just want to describe the project.
And I just wanted to add some color to the staff report you received by explaining a few of the things that we tried to accomplish with our design. As you'll see, the site plan is dominated by quite a few trees in the rear and middle of the lot, mature oak trees. There's also a nice, really beautiful tree up in the front. And so one of our challenges was to provide this new home design without disturbing too many of these trees. So the house ended up working out pretty well of situating it towards the center of the lot, where we were able to save the street tree up right behind the sidewalk and all but one of the oak trees. And what you don't see here is some of the redesign that we went through to arrive at this design. The owners actually personally contacted 44 of the neighbors and spoke with most of them, and that's listed in the project narrative that we provided to the planning department. And so there was concern about the trees, and in our original design, we had proposed removing 3 trees, and we were able to change it up a little bit and save one more of the oak trees, so that in the end, we're only proposing to remove 1 oak tree and 1 magnolia tree. It ended up working out really well for the design. I'd say the one awkward part is the driveway to the garage kind of meanders around the street tree. But I think that's worth it in the end for the saving the rest of the trees on the property. As far as the massing of the building, we're conforming with all of the zoning requirements, and I think you'll see that the second floor is situated pretty far back from the street, almost 70 feet from the sidewalk, and 10 or 12 feet on each side property line. So the second floor is not, in my opinion, privacy or obtuse design for the neighbors. And then the style, I think, is self-explanatory. It's a clean, modern, minimalist design, but we've added articulation to the front with some different textures and materials and overhangs. So in the end, I hope this is a successful project, and we're here to field any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions before we go to public comment? None? All right, let's move to public comment for this item. Ms. Beacon?
Thank you, Chair Doe. As a reminder, you're welcome to speak on this public comment period by raising your hand with the hand icon on Zoom or by pressing *9 if calling by phone. If you're participating in person, please fill out a comment card and bring it to me. At this moment, I do not see any hands raised and have not received any comment cards.
We'll go ahead and close public comment. I think people had plenty of time to comment if they wished to. And we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion, questions, and ultimately a motion.
Okay,
Commissioner Farrick.
thank you. I don't really have any questions, but I wanted to give a moment in case others did. It appears to be a nice design. I really appreciate the interior ADU as well. And even with that, the setbacks being brought into conformance was noted, as well as the very impressive neighbor outreach. Thank you for that. That means a lot, and hopefully it helped you get to know lots and lots of neighbors that are now soon to be friends. So just wanted to comment that I'm happy to see this home.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Commissioner Briggs?
Yes, I'd like to move approval per the staff report for the use permit.
Great. A first from Commissioner Riggs. Anyone wish to?
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Farrick. There's no further questions or discussion. We'll go ahead and vote. Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Eric?
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs?
Yes.
I will also vote yes, so that's 5 yeses, and the project is approved. Congratulations and thank you. So we'll move to F2, use permit, Caitlin Dark and Peter Hartwell, 1310 Bay Laurel Drive. Consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to construct a new 2-story single-family residence with a basement on a vacant substandard lot with regard to minimum lot width in the R1S single-family suburban residential zoning district. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines, section 15303, class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal includes an attached accessory dwelling unit, which is not subject to discretionary review. And for this item,
So,
Mr. Turner.
yeah, Vice Chair Doe, I'll jump in. Chris Turner had scheduled time off, but got his staff report ready and was able to deliver it for this meeting, and so I'll be standing in for him. No updates from staff. Happy to answer any questions. The applicant team is here and can provide the commission with an update or overview of the project. They are in attendance tonight.
Thank you. Would they like to make a presentation or simply just be available for questions?
No, I believe
Oh.
Chris does this better than I do. Sorry. They are available. They're here this evening for
great.
a brief presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Peter Hartwell. I just want to make a quick comment. Actually, we're struggling a bit today. One of the chief designers on the project and a member of Jim's firm passed away over the weekend. And so he was the one who was going to make the presentation today. So Gary McClure passed away. So I'm going to stand and do my best. So it's a single family house. It's actually the second one that my wife and I, Caitlin, have done together with Jim Maliski here in Menlo Park. Our kids go to Oak Knoll and Hillview. We love the town, we love the neighborhood, but we really try to work on designs that integrate with the existing trees and landscaping, but most importantly, the neighbors. So we created the original design to put the house on the lot. It's a corner lot, so it's a little bit tricky. And as you know, Bay Laurel, there's a lot of beautiful homes there. And so try to integrate into that street very well. We have met with the neighbors, worked the design with them. We had 4 letters of support that we brought with them, the contiguous neighbors on both sides and also the neighbors across the street from the corner. So we really think we've come up with a design that's though a 2-story house will not be a big, massive thing on the corner, to really try to integrate well in the corner. We did incorporate the attached ADU to try to make an opportunity to increase, of course, the available housing inside Menlo Park on that, but mostly to be harmonious with the neighbor and the trees. The lot, as itself was pretty clear of heritage trees. There is one grapefruit tree, which we are going to have to remove. Neighbors hated it. The grapefruits taste terrible, but it is a heritage, and so we're going to plant some trees to ameliorate that. But the big oaks that were on the side of the house and that tree in the front will remain. So we've done our best to do that. And if there are any more questions on the planner project, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Any clarifying questions before public comment? All right, we'll open public comment. Ms. Beacon?
Thank you, Chair Doe. At this time, I do not see any hands raised, but we can give it a minute to see if any come in.
If there's no hands, Ms. Beacon, then let's go ahead and close it.
Sure thing.
Plenty of time. Again, we'll bring it back to the commission for any questions, comments, ultimately a vote.
I'm going to sound like a broken record.
Commissioner
But
Farrick.
first, let me extend my condolences. I don't know where you went for the loss of your partner. That must be really, really difficult. And thank you for being here despite the challenging circumstances. As sitting here, one of the things I always look for is whether the project has got the setbacks and has done the neighbor outreach and all these things. And so more than check the box there, as well as some really nice neighbor support, which is very meaningful. I'm very familiar with this street. I think it'll fit in nicely there, and just pleased to see it coming and to get a better tree than the sour grapefruit tree that's there. So congratulations on that.
Any other emotion, perhaps? Commissioner Eric.
I move to approve as per the staff report.
A first from Commissioner Eric, looks like a second from
Pierre.
Commissioner Farrick, and we'll go ahead and vote then. Commissioner Barnes.
Yes.
Commissioner Eric.
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. That's 5 yeses, and the project is approved. And like Commissioner Farrick said, are sorry to hear about the loss, but congratulations on your home. That brings us to F3. a use permit, Chris Coomer, 1350 Delfino Way. Consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to construct first and second story additions and interior alterations to an existing non-conforming one-story single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot depth in the R1U single-family urban residential zoning district. The proposed work would exceed 50% of the replacement value of the existing non-conforming structure in a 12-month period. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines, section 15303's class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal includes an attached accessory dwelling unit, ADU, which is not subject to discretionary review. I'll turn to Mr. Pruder.
Thank you, Chair Doe. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Planning Commissioners and members of the public. I have one small update briefly. We received a second comment letter after the publication of the staff report, which I'd emailed to you, which was a simple clarification of the timing that was requested by the original public comment provider, same author. And apart from that, we have the applicant team in person, comprised of Chris Coomer, the architect, and the property ownership team as well. And they would like to make a brief presentation. And so I'm available for any questions, and then maybe following that, we can transition over to the applicant presentation. Thank you.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Pruder before the applicant makes a presentation?
Hi, thank you, Chair Doe and Commissioners. My name is Chris Coomer of CKA Architects here in town. We're happy to be here tonight. I'm here with my clients, Monica and David Tompkins, to review the second story addition to their home on Delfino. I'd also like to thank Kyle on this project. He got us a little unstuck on some technical issues, so I appreciate his advocacy. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. So the next slide is the existing home. A couple things to note. The lot is substandard in depth, should be 92 feet for the zoning district. I'm sorry, it should be 100 feet. We're at 92 feet. The existing home is non-conforming, 6 inches over the front, 5 inches over the right side, so just slightly non-conforming. Because of the second story addition and the 50% value that we're exceeding, that triggers use permit. A couple things to note, the magnolia on the front left there will remain as a screening tree. And then it's a little hard to see, but there are mature trees at the rear of the lot that are going to remain, and that's great screening for the rear neighbor. Next slide, please. So it's a little hard to see on the small screen here, but Delfino has a tree in the middle of the street. I think if you've been down that street, it's kind of special. That tree happens to be in the front of the Tompkins home. And then this will show there's, again, that mature screening already at the rear. And next slide, please. And again, you can see a little zoomed out. There's a pool in our client's backyard that was there when they purchased the home. Mature screening at the rear and screening already at the front, particularly that street tree. Thank you. Next one. This diagram shows asterisks for neighbors that are in support of the project. Client was able to reach out to many of the neighbors. There was a discussion with the neighbor at the rear about some of the massing, so we made some changes. We took away some parts of the building, removed one window, turned one window to the side, and shrunk another window to try to ameliorate those concerns. It's also some note that that home at the rear is quite close to us. It's got a 12-inch setback, it appears, at the rear, so it's non-conforming. Next slide, please. So the second story addition, the idea here is to keep the second story away from the neighbors. So we've got a 12-foot setback from the setback at the rear and the sides as well. So that second story is right in the middle where we want it just to retain privacy. Thank you. Next slide. Staff had us perform sort of some takeoffs on how much of the home was to exist. 72% of the total walls will remain, and 85% of the existing walls on the perimeter will remain. Next slide, please. This shows some of the materials. We've got natural siding, composite shingle roof. We've got some wood windows with aluminum cladding and a stone band at the bottom that hopefully makes for a nice look. Next slide, thank you. So again, this is the design. One of the goals was just to have some low forms in the front to kind of attenuate the mass of the main portion in the center. So you'll see that and the natural wood siding there. We've also got some low eaves at the front. Again, the goal is to kind of break down the massing. Thank you. Next slide. This is a summary of the neighborhood outreach. It did take a while for us to get to you tonight. And so there was sort of been 9 months of outreach with the neighbors. And we're happy to have, there should be 3 letters of support in the packet from neighbors across the street and adjacent. Thank you. Last slide, I think. So just in summary, the lot itself and the conditions trigger the use permit that we're here for. We worked hard with staff to minimize new walls and maintain existing walls. We fully conform with the zoning ordinance, so we're happy to have staff's recommendation of approval. We're not asking for any variances or anything. And hopefully it's an attractive design. And our clients worked hard to reach out with their neighbors and gain some support. So thank you for listening. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Great, thank you. Any clarifying questions? Commissioner Eric.
I apologize. I might be misremembering. Was it you who came and gave public comment maybe a month or 2 ago, at the beginning of the meeting? That was you, right?
That was me, yes.
Okay. If I remember correctly, I think you made a point about trying to make planning guidelines more transparent and predictable and easy to work with. Can you comment on how those guidelines worked for you in this project and if there were any ambiguities that you found frustrating along those lines?
Thank you. I'll keep it short, but I mean, this project did have some of those concerns, that things that weren't in the ordinance were being asked for. And I know that staff is managing a lot of material, but we've had a couple projects that have these types of things. And over the years, staff has said, well, these are policies, but they're hard on our side of the desk to work with if they're not written down. So now over the years, staff says, well, we'll get these into the ordinance. And unfortunately, I know that's difficult. I've been working here for 22 years and I really haven't seen any of the improvements made. So it's really hard. Again, the intent of those comments was to maybe step back and look at what it's like operating on the other side of the desk. We like to operate with certainty. I know it's impossible, but some of these things would be better to either get them written down or really not try to enforce them. So anyway, that's general summary.
That does make sense. Sorry, I'm going to have a follow-up. And first I'll say that our city staff is great, and I know that they work really hard, so I'm not putting them on the spot here, but can you give an example of, if it comes to mind, for this project, of where there might have been some ambiguity? That's helpful for us to understand.
Certainly. Well, and I should say, I mean, staff generally working very hard and consider many of them friends, and they're doing a great job. This project, there was a concern about how many of the existing walls need to remain, and some goalposts were laid out that were then moved. And I think there's a concern about doing too much work, but it's not elucidated in the ordinance. And so there isn't a goalpost. And so we were sort of frustrated that we weren't able to get to this meeting because there's not a defined rule. And so again, I understand they have concerns, but it's hard to operate and advocate for clients when there isn't a goalpost. And so that became a concern here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Eric. There's no more questions, so we'll move to public comment on this. Ms. Began.
Thank you, Chair Doe. As a reminder, you're welcome to speak on this public comment period by raising your hand with the hand icon in Zoom or by pressing *9 if calling in by phone. If you're participating in person, please fill out a comment card and bring it to me. But at this moment, I do not see any hands raised and have not received comment cards. Oh, wait, sorry, someone just raised their hand. Okay. Okay, so their name is Zoom user. You are now allowed to speak. You do not have to provide your name and address or locality with your public comment, but you are free to do so if you choose. You have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So we live in to the rear of this home that's being proposed to be built, and our concern is two things. One, that the windows be raised, the sills, so they're not 3 feet, but hopefully 4 or 5 feet, so they don't look into our yard. And even more than that, that trees be planted in the areas where the house will be. I don't know the name of the gentleman that spoke, but he said there are trees that will hide this structure, and one tree, all trees are on our lot. The one to the left of this structure will not be at all hiding the 2-story structure that will be built. And we put some up a few years ago, but primarily there is a large area where we have asked that trees, mature trees, evergreens, be planted so that we don't have to look into this huge structure that's right in our yard. We provided a picture with arrows of where we would like the trees to be built, and that hasn't been brought up. So I don't know, hopefully you have that. But that is our primary concern, are these trees that we hope to be planted by them so that we don't have to look into this structure that will be looming into our backyard. And that's it. And I hope you have the pictures and the letters that we have written over the last 9 months.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Began, are there other?
Thank you, Chair Doe. At this time, I do not see any more hands raised, and I do not have any comment cards.
Great. So we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for, again, questions, discussion, and ultimately a vote on this project. Commissioner Riggs.
How long has that light been on? Yes, thank you. So actually, the only question that I had marked was to discuss the timing of tree planting, because I believe that was a nudge from a letter writer earlier in this process. So through the chair, if I could ask the applicant when and where screening trees might be planted.
Please.
Hello. Hi, I'm David Tompkins. Just as a quick introduction, we've lived in town for 22 years. We have a freshman at MA, and my son's a freshman at MA, and my daughter's in 6th grade at Hillview. But we've never done a remodel before, and as we frequently tell Chris, we have no idea what we're doing. So as it pertains to the trees, we did receive that feedback in May. We did look at doing something about that. If you look at the overview of our lot, we have a pool and decking that leaves us about 12 inches of dirt between that and the fence. The neighbors in the back were very specific about what they asked for, container sizes and tree species and other elements. And We didn't think it would be viable to plant trees in that 12 inches of dirt that would actually grow above the fence. The fence is 8.5 feet. We put in a extra high fence with the neighbors in 2016 for privacy. If we had to, we could plant something there. We'd be worried it wouldn't thrive. And we might not have water during the remodel. I don't know how that works, so it might not. It might not get the water it needs if we plant it now, as the neighbors are asking. But we did look at that feedback. It was among several other elements they asked for, and we have spent the summer trying to meet all of their requests. Right, we've modified the house, changed the windows, moved things around. We really did try to see if we could meet their requests. And if this commission asked us to plant something there, we can do that. We're just in the area they requested. We don't think that would work. There's another area where they asked. We do have an orange tree there. We've actually trimmed it low just to make the fruit easy to get, but we can stop trimming it and let it grow to its full height, and it would fill in the other space they asked for. But that's why the plans don't currently show any trees there, just because we weren't really sure what to do. The pool and the concrete is there. There's not a lot of room for a root ball. We didn't think trees were viable. But hopefully that answers your question.
Well, may I ask, did you have the opportunity to talk with either your arborist or the city arborist?
I don't think so, no.
The reason that I ask is that somewhat to my surprise, and I've been planting trees for 30 years on occasion, not constantly, there's a row of 5 trees on Marsh Road between what amounts to the back fence of a neighborhood and the existing sidewalk that they planted a year and a half ago in about a 9-inch width. And I thought it was a joke, except that the trees are now 12 feet high. So apparently it's possible. It probably would suggest starting with a 15-gallon tree, not with a mature tree. That's a lot to ask. But trees do grow as long as they get water and food, and eventually they establish themselves. So that would be my suggestion, but I know you'll want to talk with someone who actually tends trees for a living rather than take a comment from somebody behind a wooden desk. So I think I'll just leave it at that, but it sounds like you're open to the concept.
Sure, yeah, we've been iterating so much on the house, we haven't really thought about the landscaping plan.
I wish I could quote what species the trees are, but the city would already be aware of them since they were probably surprised to see them. And anyway, I'll follow up in a moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Riggs. Commissioner Farrick.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions for staff on this, just so that, so I know things. The 40% lot coverage, that's okay and conforming because of the ADU square footage, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and then how is the home in the rear able to have built all the way to the lot line?
We did not specifically look into that project or particular property's history, so it's unclear exactly how the site was developed. In preparation for this meeting, we focused entirely on this project and any outreach efforts that were done. And obviously the issue surrounding the privacy concern was conveyed to the applicant team, but we did not look into circumstances on that site specifically.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that they have a house that's certainly non-conforming, and so maybe have a different level of sensitivity to the impact. My comments are that I appreciate the effort to adapt the design to the neighbors. I've experienced it as the back neighbor, and really appreciate the taller massing. Not obviously on your street, I live in a different neighborhood, but similar situation where a project came and just really appreciate what you've done. And then the tree species that was the one, if you all remember, when I was one of the neighbors making a comment that I had suggested in a similar situation, is the Carolinia compacta. And it's a really narrow, long, skinny tree that doesn't grow out too far like a big bushy hedge. We have it in a really narrow slot for very, very similar reasons to what the neighbors say, same reasons. And so that might be one to look into. I'm not saying it'll work in that exact spot, but it wasn't very expensive. And as Commissioner Riggs said, actually a smaller species is better because it can grow thin and vertical instead of out. We haven't also experienced very much, falling leaves and stuff, because I know you have a pool back there too. And that's those are my questions and comment that I think the issues, while I certainly can empathize, we're all back neighbors. If we're all living in these kinds of neighborhoods, there are solutions, and just appreciate the efforts you put into a thoughtful design that does conform. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrick. Commissioner Barnes.
Good evening, thank you. My first thought in seeing this project was, wow, what a readaptation of the existing structure to make it this. And I think you've done, I think the owner and the applicant and the architect have done a wonderful job in figuring out how to take a legacy structure and do this with it. So my hat's off to you. It's easier to scrape and go up, but you took on, for whatever your motivations were, trying to work with what you had. And I think you've done a wonderful job on it. I am curious, this is not germane to approval or disapproval, but more curiosity. The wood siding, what's the species of wood, and what is your plan for sealing, maintaining that wood? Because you sure do have a lot of it. Love to take a response on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes, for your question. That's a great question. There are a couple of ways to go. So Western red cedar has been sort of the standard material that we've been using these days. And there are two types of stains. If we want to get into it, there's one that you apply annually, which is more of a sealer, and that's a way to kind of easily maintain. And then there's one that you sand down and reapply every 4 or 5 years. So that's a little bit more of a pain. You can the Dutch Goose just did that. They had to strip it all down. So that's one route. There are also some products that are impregnated with the stain that you buy already, and that buys you some time. So that would be another route. But it's a concern, on all natural wood homes, and it's just a little bit of maintenance.
Right, just staying on top of it.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Good on you. It's a lovely endeavor to take on. So as someone who drives by it, I'm sure I'll be appreciative of it. Thank you for that. Any other comments? I love the ornamental grasses in front. I love the natural feel of it. I can tell from the staff report that it's a well-organized presentation, outreach, delivery of the project. So I'm appreciative of all of that. So for that reason, I will be happy to make a motion. Of course, it doesn't preclude any other comments by my fellow commissioners, but I move to approve this project per the staff report. And I'll be looking for any other commentary. Thank you.
A first from Commissioner Barnes. Thank you. Commissioner Riggs.
Yes, I have similar inclinations, although I'd like to ask the maker if he would be amenable to asking that the applicant work with staff to plant a 15-gallon tree in a strategic location for the purpose of backyard privacy.
To the chair, yeah, absolutely. I think that's always a good helpful and certainly a reasonable ask, so I'm happy to include that. And so for the purposes of clarity, Commissioner Riggs, the ask is that the applicant work with staff for a reasonable decision on the what to plant and if to plant, or is it more the what, but the if is required as part of the resolution?
I think saying work with staff is probably enough, because in the, if in the conclusion of staff, the 12 inches just isn't going to sustain a tree, or the roots are going to impact one of 2 pools that are within 5 feet, then I think we have to move onward. But that's why we have a city arborist. And for example, the city of Palo Alto has a list of trees that they allow to be planted in areas where roots cannot be evasive. I don't remember what their list is called, but it had, I think, like 10 trees on it. I know because I planted a tree, and then 3 years later, their gas company tore it up. But there was such a thing. So yeah, I think just directing to work with staff with a goal would be the idea.
Got it, thank you. And through the chair to staff, staff is okay with that open-ended direction?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Awesome. So yes, I accept the second's friendly amendment to the staff report to the resolution.
Great, thank you. So a first from Commissioner Barnes to approve the project with the direction to work with staff on if screening trees are possible. And a second from Commissioner Briggs. Before we go to a vote, Commissioner Eric.
Thank you. I'm happy to let you finish. I would like to make a comment before we go to a vote.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I would like to express my respect for the arboreal expertise of my colleagues. I certainly do not know as much about trees. However, I would like to say that I cannot support the change to the motion recommended by Commissioner Riggs, and I want to express my reasons why. First, I would encourage all neighbors to work together. I think it's reasonable. It seems like in this case, you've done so. It seems that you, as you said, erected a fence, a pretty tall fence, several years ago together. And I think that is commendable. Second, although we don't know the history of this lot, the house in the back that I believe the public commenter is non-conforming, and we have no idea, at this point, I guess, we have no idea why, but that house backs up to a point where if that project came to this planning commission today, I'm very confident that we would not approve that project. And I have to assume for many years has required the grace and collaboration of the applicants that are before us today. And I think it is reasonable that the neighbors in back extend that same grace. So I hope that they can find an amenable solution, but I don't think it's reasonable of this commission to prescribe that. The last point I'll make on this issue is, I believe if I'm reading the staff report correctly, that the applicant is presenting this project that is on a non-conforming lot, but it was non-conforming before these changes were proposed. And this commission has in my opinion, reasonable history of not punishing applicants who were on a non-conforming lot and then propose changes that are conforming but have to come before us because their lot is non-conforming. In this case, it's particularly relevant because the house in back is pretty clearly non-conforming. And so I would hope that they would understand that should they want to make any changes, it wouldn't be reasonable to ask them to change something about their house. So for all of those reasons, while I respect everything that's being said here and hope that the arboreal expertise provided can help you out, I don't think it's reasonable that ends up in the motion. So if that is the motion, I will not be supporting it.
Thank you, Commissioner Eric. I first want to agree with Commissioner Barnes that I appreciate the surgical insertion of the second floor addition. It's much more interesting sometimes to see that than just to demolish a house and start with a blank slate. So thank you. And thank you for your work for modifying the design over the course of many months. I am inclined to agree with Commissioner Eric about that, hoping you can take these useful suggestions, but not making it a requirement. I mean, screening trees would obviously benefit both parties, but we can either vote on the motion as it sits on the table, or I am going to look to the makers and seconder of the motion to see if they've, that if the ensuing discussion has changed their mind, or if you'd like to vote and see where it goes. Commissioner Riggs.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I guess through the chair, if I could ask staff, do we know if the portion of the rear neighbor's structure that is so close to the lot line, is that a 2-story portion or a 1-story portion?
My understanding is that it's a 1-story house altogether.
And from your understanding, was there concern of privacy regarding that portion of their structure, or was it the rear yard?
In my discussions with the person commenting, I'd met them at the counter, and I'd also received this correspondence, which I've shared with you and the public in the attachment D of this staff report. It was made clear that there was a general concern with privacy. There was a mention of the rear yard, but I don't recall any more specific detail being explained.
Well, I think that makes sense. That's what I would be concerned about. Okay, thank you. I think the way that the motion is worded, with the encouragement to work with staff with the goal of planting a single privacy tree, is not too onerous. So I'm not overly inclined to change.
I can comment.
Sure, Commissioner Farrick.
Yeah, I'll just comment too. I can totally see all the points here. Just having experienced both, appreciating the beautiful design of this home and wanting it to see it go forward, and being a neighbor that on 3 sides now has developed 2-story houses, and my little 1-story is sitting there, very cute. I'll be like the movie Up soon. I kind of think a tree isn't too much to ask if there is one that fits in that little unique spot. And so I guess I would just say that I agree, though, that ideally it wouldn't need to be a requirement. And it sounds like the wording is such that the arborist can kind of say, yeah, this one would work, or no, sorry, this is just really not that feasible, in which case you keep moving on. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrick. And I will say, I agree with Commissioner Riggs and Commissioner Farrick that one tree is not an imposition. I hope you're nodding, but I think it's the principle of, I think Commissioner Eric explained it well. It's more the principle of imposing an additional thing. But with that, I feel like everyone's maybe had a chance to react, and we'll go ahead and move to a vote if that's.
Thank you. And just prior to that, I'll reconfirm my thinking. And as Commissioner Riggs presented it, along with the second, I'm okay with it because it's a fairly low to minimal lift in terms of the direction was to consider and see what would work there. And if nothing works, nothing works. So I think it was intentionally designed to create some leeway there. I know that when I went up 2 stories in my house, I was happy. I mean, in terms of the overall scope of this development, it is barely a 0.00000 in terms of consideration to pop a few trees in. I think it's a nice consideration. I think it goes a long way to neighbor relations, and the ask is, for me, not precedent setting as much as it is, sure, if it can work, and it serves to keep everyone keep neighbors working well together. So for that reason, I'm in support, and that's why I continue to think that it's the right for this particular thing. And we'll see how the vote goes. Thank you for that.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. So we'll vote to
Sorry.
Commissioner Eric.
I think these are all very good points, and I appreciate the discussion. I would like to clarify. I think the principle is important, but in terms of actual fact, I just want to clarify with staff, I guess, should this be the motion, would it be required that the applicant come back to Planning Commission to receive approval?
No, that's not the case. I think from the beginning here, we have understood from the commissioners that the motion is intended to require the applicant work with planning staff in the building permit stage to see the feasibility of this potential tree planting as a privacy screening measure. And so I don't believe there's any need for the Planning Commission to be involved moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can vote.
All right. Commissioner Barnes.
Yes.
Commissioner Eric.
No.
Commissioner Farrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs.
Yes.
I also will vote no on principle in support of the project, but just on principle. So the project is approved with 3 yeses and 2 nos. And congratulations on your new home and potentially new screening tree.
Oh, and a belated second to Mr. Barnes' comment about the very nice adaptive reuse of the building with a great success.
All right, so with that, we'll close item F3 and move to F4, use permit Mike Ma, 2035 Santa Cruz Avenue. Consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to demolish an existing 1-story single-family residence and detached garage and construct a new 2-story single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot width and area in the R1U single-family urban residential zoning district. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines section 15303, class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal includes an attached accessory dwelling unit, ADU, which is not subject to discretionary review. And it looks like we are also turning to Mr. Pruder for this one.
Thank you again, Chair Doe, Planning Commissioners, members of the public. I don't have any specific updates at this time, but I'm happy to help with any questions you may have. And following that, we have virtually the applicant team comprised of the architect and the property owner. Thank you very much.
Any clarifying questions, or can we maybe turn it to the applicant for words or presentation?
Hi. Hi, my name is Mike. Mike Ma. I'm with March Design. I'm the project architect for this new house project. So thanks for Matt. I've been working with Matt for almost a year on this new house project. It's a substandard size parcel, and right now it's a 1-story house surrounded by a number of trees. So we are proposing this 2-story house with an attached ADU in the back, and we are keeping all the tree except for one that's along the side yard line, and that's leaning and with a deteriorating base. The house itself, it's pretty modest with traditional contemporary design, and I try to keep the owner. I've been working with my client, the property owner, and our team to keep this one simple and straightforward. The exterior finished material include cement plaster, flat concrete tile, fiberglass frame windows, and with some decorative wood siding finishes and the garage door. So I believe my client, the owner, Mr. Kabani are here, and we are happy to answer any question you have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the applicant before we go to public comment? No? All right, let's turn to Ms. Began for any public comments.
Thank you, Chair Doe. As a reminder, you are welcome to speak on this public comment period by raising your hand with the hand icon on Zoom or by pressing *9 if calling in by phone. If you are participating in person, please fill out a comment card and bring it to me. As of right now, I do not see any hands raised and I have not received any comment cards.
All right, let's go ahead and close public comment. I think they should have had enough time by now. And let's bring it back to the commission for a discussion and ultimately a vote. Would anyone like to begin? Commissioner Riggs.
Well, I'll just say that I appreciate the siting and the massing, particularly the additional second floor setbacks in a neighborhood that is largely single story. This, I think, is very helpful to neighbors.
Thank you, Commissioner Riggs. Commissioner Farrett.
Thank you. Yes, similarly, I like to look at the data table and appreciate that you're bringing it into conformance. I appreciate that you're adding a housing unit to our housing stock and that the height isn't maxed out. It's, 3.5 feet, more than 3.5 feet shorter than the max allowed. And so, I leave it to architects like Commissioner Riggs to weigh in on the design, but it looks nice to me. So.
Any other comments or a motion, perhaps? Commissioner
move.
Farrett?
Yes, thank you. I'll move to approve the use permit for 2035 Santa Cruz Avenue per the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrett. A first on the table, Commissioner Eric.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Eric to approve the project as recommended by staff. If there's any further questions, comments? Looks like we might be ready to vote. Commissioner Barnes.
I'm sorry, we are ready to vote?
Yeah, you're welcome to make any comments or questions.
Oh, that was an open invitation.
But there's a first and a second.
Oh, there is a first and a second?
Yes.
Oh, got it. So you're calling the vote right now?
Yes.
Got it. All right. That's a yes.
Okay. Commissioner Eric.
Yes.
Commissioner Farrett.
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs.
Yes.
I will also vote yes, so that's 5 yeses. The project is approved as recommended by staff. And with that, we can close item, I forget what number that was. I think it was F4. And moving right along, item F5. Use permit, architectural control, major subdivision, below market rate, BMR housing agreements, and environmental review. The Sobrato organization, the project is 119, 123 to 125 and 127 Independence Drive, 130 Constitution Drive, and 1205 Chrysler Drive. Request for a bonus level development project consisting of a 316-unit rental apartment building with approximately 2,000 square feet of commercial space, including 56 BMR rental units, 48 BMR rental units, and an additional 8 rental BMR units proposed as a community amenity in exchange for bonus level development with increases in height, density, and gross floor area, and 116 for-sale townhome units, including 18 for-sale BMR units. A notice of preparation, NOP, was released pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, on September 10th, 2021, and included a public review period of 30 days to solicit comments on the scope and content of the draft EIR. The draft EIR was circulated for a minimum 45 public review period from November 28th, 2022 to January 17th, 2023. The final EIR was released on August 4th, 2023. The final EIR does not identify any significant and unavoidable environmental impacts that would result from implementation of the proposed project. The Planning Commission will consider adoption of resolutions: 1, certifying the final environmental impact report, final EIR, adopting California Environmental Quality Act CEQA findings, and adopting the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, MMRP. 2, approving use permits and architectural control permit for a bonus level development project and modifications to the bird-friendly design requirements. And 3, recommending the City Council approve the below market rate BMR housing agreements and vesting tentative map for the proposed project. And I will turn to Ms. Bhagat for a presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission, and community members. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this project at 123 Independence Drive. Next slide, please. Before I give a brief introduction of the project, would like to review the recommended format for this public hearing. After my presentation, I would request that the Commission invite the applicant who can walk through the various aspects of the project in greater detail. Following their presentation, I would request the Commission invite the CEQA consultant who will go over the environmental review process and the findings of the draft environmental impact report, as well as the final EIR that has been circulated for this project. After the presentations, I would request that the Commission open up for public comments, followed by your deliberation. And along the way, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Next slide, please. So this approximately 8.15 acre site is made up of 5 parcels that is currently developed with office and industrial buildings. These buildings are proposed to be demolished. The project site is located in RMU, residential mixed-use zoning district. On the west side of the project site is the Menlo Portal project that is currently under construction. That project has apartment buildings as well as an office component. This project site is bounded by Constitution Drive to the north and Independence Drive to the south. And to the east is Chrysler Drive. Next slide, please. So the proposed project is made up of 316 rental apartment units that is located off of Constitution Drive to the north of the project site. And the southern portion of the site is made up of townhomes. The apartment building includes 2,000 square feet of commercial space that is located directly across the public park that is seen at the center of the project site. The townhome component contains 116 townhomes, including 18 BMR townhomes, which is located on its own parcel. That is parcel C that can be accessed directly from Independence Drive. The apartment building also contains BMR units. In total, the project is providing 74 total BMR units, and that is approximately 17% of the units as affordable to low income below market rate. because of which the project is requesting concessions and waivers. And one of the concessions is to allow the for sale BMR units to be located on one parcel. Aside from this, the project will be providing community amenity units, which are also located in the apartment building. The project is proposing a vesting tentative map to be able to consolidate all the parcels and re-subdivide it in the configuration shown here, and as well as phase the project. Next slide, please. So we are here tonight so that staff is requesting that the Planning Commission make recommendation and adopt 3 resolutions on the project. The first resolution is to certify the environmental impact report, the final EIR, after making findings pursuant to the CEQA requirements, as well as adopting the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. The second request is to adopt a resolution for the use permit for bonus level development, which will require that the applicant provide community amenities, as well as modify the bird-friendly design requirements for this project, and architectural control to approve the new development and associated improvements, and finally adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council adopt the BMR agreements that are provided as draft in here as part of the staff report, as well as approve the vested tentative map. This project was also shared and presented to the Housing Commission in June, and they have forwarded a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission and City Council for the BMR proposal. With that, I will turn the meeting over to the chair, and I'm, like I said, happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Could we now invite the applicant up for a presentation?
Good evening, Vice Chair Doe, commissioners, staff, as well as members of the public. I am Peter Tai with the Sobrato organization. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this project, 123 Independence Drive. I am joined today by my colleagues, Henry Lichi from Studio T Square, Costanza Asferheim from Habitat for Humanity, and Linda Klein from Cox Castle Nicholson. Next slide, please. Sobrato and Habitat formed this partnership 3 years ago in order to bring forth a more creative solution to affordable housing. Both organizations are excited to finally be in front of Planning Commission seeking its approval for this project. Sobrato is a local organization based in the Bay Area and has been in the Bay Area since the 1950s. Habitat is a local household name, and a nonprofit organization focused on providing affordable home ownership opportunities through the construction of quality for sale homes. Next slide. Now, how did we get here? This project started off very different than what is before you today. Initially, Sobrato submitted a mixed-use project in January of 2020. That project included apartments, townhomes, and a 90,000 square foot office building. After our community outreach and Planning Commission scoping session, the message was loud and clear. The stakeholders want more housing and more affordable housing. Sobrato took that feedback and revised the project to what is before you, a predominantly residential project with Habitat as our partner. The revised application was submitted in June of 2021. Since then, we have been in front of Planning Commission and Housing Commission and continued our community outreach. Overall, we have received positive feedback and we're eager to move this project forward. Next slide. Now to the project. This project is located in the Bayfront Bellhaven neighborhood. The surrounding area includes a mid-rise commercial office building, parking structures, multifamily housing, and 11-story hotel. Before you now is the original mixed-use project, which includes the office component. The current project, next slide, or hit play. Can you go back one? You can hit animation and it'll bring up the next one. Yeah. Okay. Apologies for the technical glitch. But the new project is 432 units, which include 316 apartment units and 116 townhomes. Lot 1 is the Park Paseo. The project contains a large variety of open spaces, but the center focus is this open space in Paseo. The Paseo is a north-south connection from the site to the neighboring bike ped network. Lot A is where the 5-story apartment project will be. It'll contain 316 units with 1 at-grade parking level and 1 below-grade parking level. The apartment building will consist of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. 56 of these units will be affordable and be evenly distributed throughout the building. Lot C is the affordable townhome. It is in the center of the site and is adjacent to the public park. This lot will consist of 18 units. These units will be 3 stories with tuck-under garage. This lot will be donated to Habitat for its ownership and development. The project team has responded to the input from Planning Commission's recommendation at our last meeting to add 3 bedroom units to the mix. So now we have 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and 4 bedrooms in the affordable housing townhome project. The balance of the site, lots B and D, will provide the 98 market rate townhome units. Those also will be 3 stories with a tuck-under garage for each unit. And for now, I will turn it over to Henry Chi with Studio T Square.
Through the chair, if I could just, I know we lost the presentation for a little bit. If we could get an update on which slide the applicant would like up.
I'm actually going to be switching to a video. So
Okay.
yeah.
I think the video may be giving us the problem, but we can give it a shot again.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Good evening, commissioners, staff, members of public. I'm Henry Lichi, like Peter said, with Studio T Square, the architects behind this project. I'll ask if we could switch to the video. It's already going. Okay. So the video commences its journey on Independence Drive. Upon entering the Paseo, we instantly immerse in landscape, intertwined with pedestrian paths and well-appointed planting. As we head towards Constitution Drive, the video will showcase how the apartment building harmonizes with adjacent commercial structures. We'll then turn back around, and to your left, you'll notice terraces with enhanced landscape, greenery, residential stoops to interact with the Paseo. At the center of the project lies the public park. The unity of the project is highlighted by the fact that all product variants have a presence facing the park. The pedestrian pathway between the townhomes serve as a testament to the thoughtful integration of the affordable housing segment into the overarching project design. And once the video concludes, we could switch back to the slides, please. And next one, please. Thank you. In this slide, we like to share some images that give you a sense of the architecture and the scale. The placement of the apartment building, which is on your top left, along Constitution Drive allows the larger scale building to be better matched with the street context, as I mentioned earlier, and relate to the adjacent office buildings. The architectural style is warm and modern, and the massing is broken down to smaller components to relate to the residential scale. The townhomes are assembled into smaller building groups to provide a variety of architecture style. The finishes relate to apartment building in color and composition to create a cohesive neighborhood feel. Next, please. On this slide, you'll see the heart of the project, what I kind of described the heart of the project is the public park. The top image shows how the park is fronted by both the market rate and affordable townhomes without any exclusions. The park is connected by the Paseo from Independence to Constitution, allowing for connectivity to and from neighboring sites. And finally, the Paseo and the park will feature bicycle-friendly elements, native planting, open gathering spaces, along with play structures. Thank you for allowing me to share this illustration with everyone. I'll now hand it back to Peter.
Thank you, Henry. Next slide, please. So I want to briefly touch upon our community outreach and how we came to our community amenity. So even before our first scoping session in January of 2021, we committed to engaging a diverse group of Bellhaven and Menlo Park stakeholders in this process. The pandemic added a complexity that we were really unexpected. But we were able to meet with the community on various online small group sessions as well as virtual one-on-ones. And more recently, in November of 22, we held an in-person open house on site as well as an online meeting to engage and update the community on the project. The resounding feedback, like I said, was more housing. And as a result, the project will be providing additional BMR units as our community amenity. In total, there will be 74 BMR units, which include 56 rental apartments, as well as 18 for-sale townhomes. And all of it will be offered at low AMI levels. As I mentioned before, Subrata will be donating the land to Habitat, and Habitat will develop the affordable housing units. Habitat not only brings its long track record of success, but also offers zero down payment and zero interest rate mortgages to their recipients. And with that, I will pass it off to Constanza, and she will expand on Habitat and its programs.
Hello, good evening, Chair, Commissioners, staff, and members of the community. My name is Constanza Esfira-Haim, and I'm the Vice President of Real Estate Development for Habitat for Humanity, Greater San Francisco. Next slide, please. So Habitat for Humanity is unique in the affordable housing space. Not only do we do home ownership, but we're also incredibly vertically integrated. And by that, I mean, we do our own planning and development. We do our own outreach and sales. We do our own construction. And as Peter mentioned, we are also our project's lender. Because of this vertical integration, we have been able to find efficiencies in our processes. And that's what allows us to provide homeowners with zero interest, zero down payment loans. And I think that's incredibly important in an economy like we're facing today, with increasing inflation and increasing interest rates, which makes home ownership more and more unaffordable to many families. Habitat for Humanity caps costs at 30% of homeowners' income. So that means that it's really customized to the homeowner themselves. And these housing costs not only include their mortgage, but it includes interest, which we don't charge, HOA fees, utilities, insurance. And so being able to cap that at 30% is really incredible for these homeowners. So we typically serve homeowners in the low income category, which is 50 to 80% AMI. However, there are times where we serve moderate income families and we go from 80 to 120% AMI. However, in this case and for this project, we are only doing low income homes. So we're serving folks in the 50 to 80% AMI. Part of our self-help model is that homeowners have to do their own sweat equity, which means that they work alongside other homeowners in not only the construction of their home, but they also satisfy sweat equity hours with taking financial literacy courses and other skill and learning courses. And they do this together, and there's a solidarity in the homeowners that we serve. They all know each other very well by the time the units are built. Next slide, please. Habitat for Humanity San Francisco was established in 1989, and we have a history of serving our counties for the last 30 years. We serve San Francisco, San Mateo, and Redwood City, and we have built over 250 units. And in our current strategic plan, we plan to double that and build another 250 units by 2027. Next slide, please. So as you can see on this slide, most of the families that we serve really believe that their children will be able to graduate high school, go on to college, and even that they'll be able to save for their future. But it's not only just how homeowners feel. There are numerous studies that show a direct and significant correlation between home ownership and improved childhood outcomes in academics, in behavior, and in all sorts of levels, including emotional stability. In fact, the Federal Reserve just conducted a study where they found that the net worth of a homeowner is 40 times that of a renter over their lifetime. Next slide, please. So we're very different from most other developers, as we've been talking about. And because of that, we are asking for certain concessions and waivers as allowed by the state density bonus law. As mentioned previously, those concessions include clustering all of the units on one parcel. And as we mentioned, it's this solidarity and it's this sweat equity that folks build, and it's their development of an HOA with each other that really builds the sense of community. And we think this helps transition folks from renters to first-time homeowners, mortgage holders, and members of an HOA. Also, because we use sweat equity and volunteer labor, our timelines can look very different from other developers. So we are asking to decouple ourselves from a timing perspective from the for-profit townhomes. However, we also understand the city's need to ensure that the BMR units are provided. And so we've worked to come to a compromise as delineated in the staff report, where we will pull our building permit within 6 months of the for-profit developer, and we will complete our development within 24 months. Additionally, as we've been discussing, the designs are pretty different for what we do. Our units can be a little bit smaller than market rate, but it's because we provide a lot of bedrooms and we're trying to serve as many families as we can. And as mentioned before, this isn't a concession or a waiver that we're asking for, but we do our own financing and provide zero interest and zero down payment. Next slide, please. So why do we do this? We are a nonprofit organization, and we do this so that families can build legacy, stability, and equity. And it's not just about our homeowners. It's also about you folks and about this community. When we think of Menlo Park, we think of world-class schools. We think of best-in-class healthcare and employment hubs. And so being able to provide an opportunity to build equity in a community like this is a privilege for us. Next slide, please. These are the organizations that have endorsed us in this project specifically. It's made up of hundreds of different companies and community groups that are private, public, and nonprofit. And they don't endorse any project. These projects have been vetted and approved because of the work that we do. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Oh, Commissioner Ricks.
Yeah, through the chair, may I ask a question or two of the presenter?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's should be fine, right? Or did you recommend holding questions until after the EIR consultant has a chance to present? Is there a recommended staff?
Yeah, I think it's at the discretion of the chair. If it's a clarifying question, it could certainly be appropriate right now. I think our staff recommendation was to hold clarifying questions until after the 3 presentations. But if it's a salient question, based on the presentation just now to clarify something that's totally appropriate. We just wouldn't want to get in too much dialogue at this moment.
Sounds great. Commissioner Riggs, I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you. So Costanza, I'm sorry, I missed your last name. The key question regarding the habitat approach is the resale value. On at least one of our projects for the city, we are holding values for 55 years. That doesn't make any sense for ownership housing. Do you have a formula that caps the resale for your partner families?
So we deed restrict for 99 years, not the 55 years, but our resale value is based on a formula of appreciation over the first sale value. And so it's appreciated at a CPI adjusted number. And that's how our resales are calculated.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner Riggs. Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you. And mine is not a question, it's a statement. A point of disclosure. The applicant within the development team is Studio T Squared, which is an architect on a master plan project that is in my portfolio with my day job at the County of Santa Clara, of which I've got direct oversight on. So with that point of disclosure, it does not in any way cloud my point of view or not enable me to weigh in on tonight's proceedings, but I want to be noting that as a point of disclosure. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. I think we'll go ahead.
I have one along those same lines.
Okay, sure. Commissioner Barrett, thank you.
Surprise, me too. I think that it was said that the attorney's from Cox Castle, is that right? Yes. I've never met her, but in my day job, I work with Mitch Menzer, who's also a Cox Castle land use attorney. So I don't think that's a conflict, but I just wanted to note that for disclosure purposes.
Thank you. Appreciate the transparency from both of you. And we'll turn it over to our EIR consultant.
Hi, good evening. My name is Catherine Waugh. I'm a senior project manager with DUDEC. And I'm going to apologize up front. I'm working from home tonight, and one of my cats has just decided to be very noisy. So hopefully he's not too disruptive. But as Pyle set forth, I would like to review with you the final EIR. So next slide, please. This slide presents my outline, key points that I would like to cover. So next slide. The CEQA overview is just a basic introduction, or as it says, overview for you. Next slide. Of the key steps in the CEQA process and the details on how we have met those requirements under this project. There was a notice of preparation prepared, which is the document that alerts the public and other agencies to the fact that an EIR will be prepared. For this project, we had 2 NOPs because there was a substantial change in the project after the first one. So we released the first one in January of 2021. And as Mr. Tsai had noted, that original project included a fair amount of office space, which was later revised to make room for more housing. And so that was what the intent of the September 2021 notice of preparation was. We then prepared the draft EIR based on the project designs, and that was released in late November of 2022 and was made available for the required 45-day public review ending in January of 2023. During that public review period, we held a hearing before the Planning Commission to receive comments on the draft EIR. We also received a number of written comments on the draft EIR, and all of those were addressed within the content of the final EIR. which, as the staff report mentioned, was published on August 4th. And I apologize, I forgot to update this slide. As you know, the project was originally anticipated to be heard by the Planning Commission 2 weeks ago, but that was postponed continued until tonight. Next slide, please. So this slide provides you with the basic requirements under the California Environmental Quality Act of what should be contained in a draft and a final EIR. And so in the draft EIR, we have a detailed project description with a lot of figures to help orient the reader to the project's existing conditions as well as the proposed development. The environmental analysis also documents the thresholds of significance, and those are the criteria that we use to determine whether an impact or a change in the environmental condition could be significant or could be considered less than significant. And where we find significant impacts, we would identify mitigation measures to reduce those impacts to the extent feasible, as is required by CEQA. And then we also have a set of project alternatives that help decision makers to consider whether more substantive changes to a project could help to avoid or reduce significant effects. The final EIR really focuses on the public comments, comments from members of the public as well as other public agencies regarding the analysis and conclusions presented in the draft EIR, and then also presents any changes to the draft EIR text that are necessary to help clarify the project elements and clarify the analysis of impacts and mitigation measures. Next slide, please. And again, next slide. So in this final EIR, there was one change that was made to the project after we had already prepared the draft EIR, which was to add the commercial component that you can see here in the bottom corner of the apartment. So if you remember back to the project description elements that have been presented previously, this commercial 2,000 square foot commercial space is looking out onto the open space element in the sort of center of the project site. So it'd be accessed from the lobby areas in that southern portion of the apartment building. This was added to the project after we had prepared the draft EIR, and so we prepared, and also after we had actually prepared the final the majority of the final EIR responses. But what we did was we took a look at this this commercial space, which the end user is not known at this time, and so we assumed what we think is the sort of highest intensity use for that type of a site as would be allowed under the zoning designations. And so we assumed it would be a high turnover restaurant. It's not expected to be a high turnover restaurant because there's no commercial kitchen proposed at this time, but we wanted to make sure that we could capture the maximum envelope of potential environmental impacts. And when we looked at that, we found that there were no new significant environmental impacts, and none of the impacts we had identified previously would have a substantial increase in their severity. Next slide, please. So this slide and the next one summarize the comments that we did receive on the draft EIR. And I don't want to read through everything on here, but we received a number of comments that identified some concerns with the project or some concerns with public service provision, but were not, the majority of them were in support of the project. The next slide, the most substantial of the comment letters that we received were from the Sequoia Union High School District with various concerns about the increase in student enrollment due to the number of residential units, and then a lot of concerns about school operations and the ease and safety of folks arriving to and departing from the campus due to potential traffic increases that might be generated by the proposed project. We also, I just wanted to talk about that last bullet on the slide. We had presented the draft EIR to the Planning Commission, and so that last bullet point there on the public hearing mentions the concerns that were addressed through the comments and questions at that public hearing. Thank you. So as I mentioned, the final EIR includes revisions to the draft EIR. This is a very common thing, that there are minor corrections and clarifications that are made to a draft EIR at the time that the final EIR is prepared. So there was statements in the draft EIR regarding the number of dwelling units in the Bayfront area that were sort of in the pipeline before the applications for this project were received. And so we found that there were some inaccuracies in those numbers, and we corrected those throughout. There was also clarifications regarding the impact fee program that the fire district has proposed but has not yet been adopted by the city. We provided additional information regarding the school district enrollment numbers and impact fees to address some of the comments raised by the school district. And then there were a few additional reference documents that we were able to cite, and so we added those to the document as well. Next slide. So next, I would like to get into the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. As most of you are familiar, this is a required component when a lead agency looks to adopt a CEQA document that includes mitigation measures. There needs to be a plan set forth that explains how those mitigation measures will be implemented, either during construction or throughout, pre-construction, throughout construction, and for the long-term operation of the project. So next slide, please. Thank you. So the mitigation monitoring and reporting program is presented in a table format. It identifies or includes the full text of the mitigation measure, and then identifies how those long paragraphs break down into the actual logistics of implementing those measures, including the specific actions that are required, and how the performance criteria is a way of saying how do we know that we've done it correctly, that we've achieved the desired outcome. And a lot of times that requires some type of a monitoring or reporting function. Next slide, please. There's also under CEQA a requirement that the lead agency adopt what are called the findings of fact. Next slide, please. And these are findings that review, it's almost like an executive summary of the EIR. We review the record of proceedings, the documents that were relied upon to reach the analysis and conclusions that are presented, and then really go carefully through the impacts and their levels of significance and where mitigation measures are required. How do we know that those mitigation measures are going to achieve the desired outcome? So this slide just gives you a quick overview of those impacts or those resource areas where we found that there would not be a significant impact, and therefore these are not impacts, significant impacts to the project. Some of them, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to remember from one project to the next if there were mitigation measures required for these. But the intent being that these are impacts, or these are resource areas where the project would not have an adverse effect. And then on the next slide, thank you, we have the list of resource areas where there are mitigation measures required in order to ensure that those impacts would be less than significant. And a lot of these mitigation measures that are included for these various topics are very typical mitigation measures that you would see on almost any project in the city or even throughout the state, to ensure that what we call best management practices are implemented throughout construction and throughout project operation to ensure that these resource areas don't incur a significant effect. Another key element of the CEQA process, and of course the findings, are to consider project alternatives that may help to reduce or avoid significant impacts. And these become really important in a project that does have a significant and unavoidable impact. But of course, they're still essential in a project such as this one that has all of the impacts have been reduced to a less than significant level. But they help, as I mentioned before, the decision makers of the city to understand if there are ways that a project can be modified that would help to minimize that environmental footprint. And so this slide just lists for you the different alternatives that we did look at, as well as there was a set of them that were initially considered, but we had rejected from doing a detailed analysis. And we talked about those in more detail when we released the draft EIR, so I didn't want to spend too much time with them tonight, but I'm happy to answer questions. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. There are clarifying questions from the commission before we open public comment. Commissioner Riggs.
Yes, through the chair. I'll state what is probably obvious, but I think it's good to get it on public record. When we say there are no adverse impacts and nothing requiring mitigation, particularly in reference to such things as traffic, this is under the umbrella of the Connect Menlo EIR, which already acknowledged those impacts and declared them to be unavoidable.
Yes, is the commission looking for a response from me?
Please.
Yes, thank you. So yes, I agree. There was an important change in CEQA and state law regarding how environmental impacts are prepared between the Connect Menlo EIR and most of the environmental review documents that you'll be seeing now, which is that originally, or for a long time, we would look at the amount of congestion on roadways and at intersections as an environmental effect. And then under Senate Bill 743, it was determined that congestion should no longer be considered an environmental effect. And I could get into the reasons why, but I that's not within the Planning Commission's purview, so we'll save that for another evening. But at this point, what we look at is vehicle miles traveled. And so that was the main focus of the CEQA analysis for the 123 Independence Project. And that metric relies upon looking at the existing average of vehicle miles traveled per household or per employee if you're looking at a non-residential project, and then what that vehicle miles traveled VMT would be under the current project. And with the city's requirement for a transportation demand management program and plan to be implemented, that tool is very effective at helping to control those VMT impacts and ensure that there's a pathway to bring them to a level of less than significant.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other clarifying questions? Let's move to public comment. Ms. Began.
Thank you, Chair Doe. As a reminder, you're welcome to speak on this public comment period by raising your hand with the hand icon in Zoom or by pressing *9 if calling by phone. If you are participating in person, please fill out a comment card and bring it to me. At this time, I have one in-person commenter and 3 Zoom commenters. So I will start with the in-person commenter. I will now present Sheila Holland. Sheila, you have 3 minutes to speak.
I'd like to say good evening to the councilmen, the staff, and also the community members. Just wanted to very briefly, I am a homeowner. I purchased a home through Habitat for Humanity. So we all know how great the need is. So I'm not going to go into all that, but I would like to just speak on how it changed my life. Come from a very big family. When we lived in one house, it was 8 of us in 2 bedrooms. When we did finally move, it was 16 of us in a very small 5-bedroom. Almost everybody on welfare, on aid, food stamps. I simply didn't want that for my children. I went to school, I got a job, still wasn't making enough money because at this point, things had changed and I had become a single parent with 4 children. I worked 2 jobs, I worked hard, and even though it would have been cheaper if I would only just quit work and get back on housing, my income, my portion would have been so much less, or I wouldn't have bills, medical bills that came along with working. It would have been a lot cheaper for me to just stay on aid. I didn't want it. So I continued to work. I worked 2 jobs, and I done it for a long time. I made do with what I had, but I just wanted more for my children. And Habitat, once I got on Habitat, it changed the direction for me. I no longer had the stress of getting notices, wondering when we're going to be evicted. A lot of people didn't want to rent to families with that many children. The first 6 of us is year after year. A lot of stress come when you're not knowing where you're going to stay or when they're going to jack up your rent. So I didn't have that stress. Once I became a Habitat homeowner, it improved my life where I didn't have the stress, but also my children. At this point, they had like more space to do their homework and stuff. It sounds like that's not nothing, but it is. When you have 10 children, the first 6, all our homework getting mixed up and not knowing where it's at to turn it in. But as a result of having the stability that Habitat provided for us, my children were able to all go to school. They all graduated. None of them are on any aid. One of my daughters has been a teacher for over 22 years. 2 of my children work at universities, and they've been at them for over 10 or 15 years. My other daughter has been doing nursing for over 10 years. None of my grandchildren are on aid. Even my great-grandson is not on aid. It made a big difference. It changed everything. It changed the direction. It changed in a positive way the investment. They didn't just give us homes. We had to work hard, crawling up on scaffolds, cutting siding, a lot, painting. We done hard work. There was no way, I didn't have a way to save up for a down payment. So eliminating the down payment with the stress equity, it was what I needed. It also gives a person, make them more likely to take care of their home if we put the hard work in ourselves. So Habitat is a program that really worked for me, and I'm really hoping that more affordable homes will be available to help others as well. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. So I will now move to online comments. First up is Matt Reagan. Matt, you do not need to provide your address or locality with your public comment, but you're free to do so if you choose. I will start now, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. Matt Regan with the Bay Area Council. I'm Senior Vice President of Policy. We are an employer-sponsored public policy advocacy organization and have for many years identified the shortage of housing at all levels of affordability as the single biggest threat to our economic sustainability and the sustainability of our region from a social equity perspective as well. I point to personal privilege. It was great to see the earlier single-family home projects adopting accessory dwelling units. That's legislation we sponsored and passed. And it's become a great addition to our housing portfolio in California. But the big projects like this one before you are the ones that will solve our housing crisis at scale. You've got 2 phenomenal development partners, community partners proposing this project, and Sobrato and Habitat. You have a wonderful design. You have, most importantly, 522 new homes. And as the previous speaker highlighted, you're going to have a significant number of them available for purchase at the very low income levels. And you're going to have a mix of units that will greatly add to Menlo Park's housing stock. I think in total, this is going to be probably 14 to 15% of your total RHNA obligation for this current cycle, which is not insignificant. And so we would urge you to adopt the project, move it forward. You're not going to get a better development team. You're not going to get a better proposal than this one. We spend a lot of time reviewing projects from proposals across the region. We've got some experience in looking at projects like this, and rarely have we seen one as imaginative and as problem solving as this one, if that's a term. We agree with the neighbors that more housing is needed, and it was great to see the project sponsor come back with the project with a richer mix of housing to meet the community's needs and still make the project pencil, which is important. So we would urge an aye vote, and look forward to seeing this project break ground, and happy to join you for the ribbon cutting in the near future. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. We will now move on to Ali Sepperman. Ali, you have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ali Saperman, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Housing Action Coalition, a member-supported nonprofit that supports housing at all levels of affordability. I'm here tonight in strong support of 123 Independence Drive, which we proudly endorsed. In terms of excellent land use, this project will create 316 new homes, replacing 5 one-story buildings used for offices and warehouses. In terms of affordability, the project exceeds the 15% BMR requirement, with 17% of the project as designated affordable. In addition, going beyond the mandated affordability levels, the project team will provide additional affordable housing options through the 18 affordable home ownership opportunities, in addition to the 56 BMR rental units. In order to alleviate the Bay Area and Menlo Park's housing shortage and affordability crisis, we ask that the Planning Commission move forward this incredible project forward without any delays. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. I will now move on to Dina Abarca. Dina, you have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you. Dina, you may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, sorry.
Oops.
Hello?
Yes, we can
Hi.
hear you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're
For the last 12 years, I've actually have been a Habitat homeowner in the Bellhaven community, and I've actually, since '89, since we moved to this country, I've actually lived in the Bellhaven community. So this is my town, my home. So when I heard about the opportunity Habitat and Sobrato coming together to do more housing units for through Habitat for more people like me, like the story you just heard from the other lady, it's just amazing. And I just jumped into the idea of like, I want to speak because I became a single mom at 25 with 2 kids. I lived in a house with 16 other people. My 2 kids and I were in a 1-bedroom renting from my mom with 14 other people in the house. So it was a lot. My kids couldn't concentrate, couldn't do well in school. As soon as we moved into our own 3-bedroom home, it felt like a big giant castle to us because, I mean, we've never had so much space, so much privacy, so much quietness, so much peace, love, and joy in being in the house, like considering ourselves a family now. I just want so many more people who are willing, to work the sweat equity, who are more than deserving families who are struggling to even pay a rent on a 1-bedroom apartment to have that stability that I have created for my kids. My oldest is about to graduate in December from college, and I know that without having a stable home, his grades would have never improved, and he probably would have not even graduated high school. Having a stable home, not having to worry about, getting kicked out of another house, another bedroom, another apartment, or a studio. I wouldn't be able to, with what I make right now, even 12 years later, I wouldn't be able to afford a 1-bedroom apartment right now. And to know that I have a 3-bedroom Bellhaven neighborhood home, it's a blessing. And it's only because Habitat provides that that opportunity to people like me and, you know, to our family. And so I would just recommend you guys approving this project. I would be, I mean, I would jump for joy, and I love Habitat, and I mean, like, they've changed my family's future forever for the best. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. I will now introduce Ma Isabel. Ma, you have 3 minutes to speak, and I will start now. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Isabel Vasquez. Thank you so much, the Sobrado, for make this really nice commitment with Habitat. Thank you. I am a Habitat owner in Redwood City, using the home in the downtown. I own a house, change your life. I have my own apartment with 3 rooms. Could you believe that? It's just in the heart in the downtown Redwood City. I never believed can do this without Habitat. Why? Do you hear my accent? Right, I'm an immigrant. I came this country 10 years ago, and now I own my own apartment with my family. In my family are 2 college students and 1 really nice husband, and handsome too. Thank you so much for having this hearing and make possible change. The people have a home in this market. Yes, it's impossible. Like teachers like me have your own apartment or home. Constanza already talked about how Habitat works. Now I have my own. The Sioux equity make a better world. Why? You are welcome to join us and show how the community build his own home. We are more strong if we are together. This community needs teachers like me. In Redwood City now, on the full 20 houses, 3 or 4 people are teachers. We need each other. Thank you so much for having this time for here, everybody. You have the change to impact the community. How? Just let Habitat do the thing. You can buy a house, when you be a partner with Habitat, you have a home, not just a house. I hear something about the 55 years or 99 years. When you have a Habitat home, you are thinking in resell and make more money. You want to have a home for your family. You hear my other people talk to you here today. We want this. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for hearing my really, really bad accent. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Chair Doe. At this time, I do not see any more hands raised and have not received any more comment cards.
Okay, well, maybe let's wait just a few more moments to see if any other commenters would like to speak. Still no hands?
Chair Doe, I can confirm that no hands have been raised.
Okay, thank you for confirming. We'll close the public comment period and bring it back to the commission for a discussion. And just a reminder, there's 3 separate actions to ultimately vote on. First is certifying the final EIR and CEQA findings. The second is adopting a resolution approving the use permit and architectural control permit. And then the third is adopting a resolution recommending that the city council adopt the BMR housing agreement and vesting tentative map. So turn it over to anyone who would like to speak. Continuing the trend, Commissioner Barrick.
I guess I'm bold this evening. Thank you. I just wanted to, I'll just make some brief comments. I don't really have any more questions. I was able to preview the project with the applicant. Thank you for your time. I'm super excited. This is definitely a unique way for what our, what the inclusionary housing is set up for. And I'm so glad that you pushed to come through with such an innovative, different project than we've seen before. And so for sale housing is something we discussed at our housing element update last week. We all agreed that ownership opportunities are really important. Very excited to see this. So, the partnership with the Habitat, and then just quick, smaller comments. I really like the way you were looking at the design with the park and Paseo, the connectivity, and the kind of the way that the design and scale goes with the context of the surrounding office. And that video was very helpful to kind of understand how it all fits together. So, in general, I don't have a lot of questions. I feel like there's a lot here that we've digested and heard about tonight, and really appreciate the public comments too. Really brings home kind of the main purpose of why this is here. So just wanted to start with that.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrick. Commissioner Riggs.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to make comments on this project before, so I'll just very briefly note my continued support for the planning and the architecture, clearly above what I think a city can expect. I particularly would like to thank the applicant for the eye-level fly-through. Seeing a project in renderings from a balloon always looks good, but doesn't actually tell us what we're going to get. And the fly-through is just a completely different thing. And we can have confidence that the massing that we see in the renders are actually what we're going to see. The roof lines are going to mean something. I'd like to, along with Commissioner Farrick, note particularly appreciation for 116 for sale units. One of the things that has concerned me since 2016 about the Bayfront area, as distinct from Bellhaven, which is a residential neighborhood that is nearby. The Bayfront area had the potential of becoming a giant apartment complex, which is not really where I think we want our city and our residents to go. Ownership makes a big difference to how people look at their city. And as has been said, ownership makes an awfully big difference to someone's personal financial situation. So I do have just one question, and through the chair, if I could ask Ms. Bagat regarding the fiscal impact analysis. We ended up with the net analysis being almost $2 million short as a single cash outlay. I will note that we have more than $4 million in benefits here, along with the 74 rental BMR. Is it appropriate to look at these community benefits as that which offsets the fiscal impact analysis?
Yeah, yes, but that is simplifying it a lot, in my opinion. But I would agree with the statement, if that's the question.
Yeah, I was asking for your confirmation because it sort of left in the staff report unanswered. But yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. I have to say, I've had ample opportunity to comment on this project, and it continues to come forward just a little bit better each time. Except that I want to give other people a chance to speak, frankly, I'm ready at any time to express my support.
Thank you, Commissioner Riggs. Commissioner Eric.
Thank you. I'm incredibly excited about this project, and barring something very unforeseen, mine will be an enthusiastic yes vote. I'm coming in a little bit late to this, so I have some questions that I'd appreciate asking. I do want to respect all the work that's gone into this project. On that note, I know in EIR study sessions, there was a push to make this 100% residential project, which is great. It does seem to me that particularly given where it's located, it won't be walking distance from hardly any commercial opportunities or grocery stores or places that you use on a regular basis. So I'm just curious, I don't know who from the applicant team was commercial considered. I know office was considered and then removed from the original plan, but how did you think about opportunities for commercial space as part of this project? And I'm particularly interested in it from a walkability perspective. Obviously, the people who live there are going to have to drive, but having a grocery store or things around could minimize that to some extent.
Yeah, I'll take that. When we looked at this project, we looked at it kind of holistically in the whole M2 area, and there is a grocery store in Willow Village as well as a pharmacy. So we didn't think this area could sustain 2 supermarkets and 2 grocery stores. So we looked at it as a whole, and what does this need? We thought it needed more housing, hence why we went forward with this project as is.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you. My other question pertains to townhomes. I was particularly pleased to see that townhomes were included in this project. I happen to think that it's a form of housing that we could use a lot more of in Menlo Park for a variety of reasons. I also, like Commissioner Farrick, had the opportunity to meet with some members of this project team, and I apologize, I forget who, so if it was one of you, I'm sorry. During that conversation, we discussed that financing townhomes is a bit different than financing apartments, and that makes it less likely that developers will develop townhomes in our city. And I didn't entirely follow the logic at that time, although I am sure it's correct because I'm not a financing expert on these things, but I was hoping maybe someone could explain that a bit more.
Yeah, I'll take that one too. I'll try to explain. With apartments, there's a single loan for the development. And once the units are all stabilized, there is a permanent loan that then basically takes out that construction loan for that project. For townhomes, those are, you'll have a construction loan for the entire project. However, as each townhome is being sold, part of that loan is being paid down each time. And so there's a greater risk for the lender because they have that money hanging out there longer, and they don't get their money returned back until that very last unit is sold. And so that's a greater risk for them versus an apartment financing. Hence why there's a higher interest rate and greater contingencies involved with such a loan.
Thank you. How were you able to make that work in this project in a way that made it feasible?
Townhomes are feasible, hence why you see them in the marketplace. So it's not impossible. You just need to work your way around it and figure it out. So, but we did see the need for sale product in this marketplace. So
okay, that makes sense. And then just to educate me a little bit more, the loan structure that you were describing, is that a consequence of just generally how financial institutions approach these types of projects, or is that a result of a policy issue? I doubt that the city of Menlo Park has any policy ability, but
it's not a policy. It's just how the lending environment is.
Okay,
so
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then my last question, I don't know if it's for you or not. I know this project was continued from 2 weeks ago, and originally maybe it was supposed to come in July. I'm curious for any detail as to why the delay.
Oh, we were just clarifying a few comments with the city. We wanted to clarify those before coming before you guys.
Can you share what those were?
It pertained to the conditions of approval. As you know, this project, there's multiple phases and multiple owners. So we wanted to make sure the conditions of approval reflected that complexity.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner Eric. Well, I'll make a comment. Well, if others are thinking or considering making a motion, I think we know where this is headed. Like other commissioners, I had a chance to speak with the applicant and visit a habitat project in Redwood City. And I appreciate the life stories that our public commenters tonight shared with us. This project fulfills a need for housing and affordable housing. It delivers a concrete community amenity in the form of the additional BMR units, provides public space, including a very attractive north-south paseo and park that provides connectivity through what could otherwise be a really big site. I think the architecture is lively, and it's created through a palette of that yellow and orange, and it's fun, and the roofscapes in the townhomes. So I am enthusiastic about this project. I just will ask one question. Your presentation documented just enthusiastic community support. And I just want to reference a letter that Ms. Waugh shared from the Sequoia Union High School District. And I just would ask I'm curious to the applicant if you could just shed some light on your engagement with the school and their concerns about safety and enrollment.
Yeah, we've had conversations with Sequoia Union since I took over the project back in 2019. So it's ongoing conversations with them. We did look at, traffic patterns, in the EIR and how they were studied. We feel that there wasn't any safety risks associated with this project that it would pose on the school. And that's our opinion, so.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you for that. Excuse me. Thank you for that, and good evening. We've seen the project over a period of time, and if I work backwards from the design elements, I think those are well documented and well considered for this project. We're asked to do a couple of things this evening. Included in them is the approval of a use permit for bonus level development in exchange for the provision of community amenities in those 8 inclusionary units. I think are a good use of that. We're being asked to adopt a resolution recommending approval of City Council for the BMR housing agreement. We've talked about that this evening for those 56 rental apartments. That works. We've talked about the 18 for sale BMR townhome units. That works as well. And then a proposed vesting tentative map that, of course, is necessary to advance the development of the project. I am fine certifying the final EIR and voting for that, and then the adoption of the secret findings to address impacts resulting from the proposed project. And then the approval of the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, the MMRP. What I like about this project and where it's situated, this is near the new community center. It's with all its amenities. It's near Kelly Park down there with its turf fields. The new swimming facility there, and not least of which within walking distance of the 160 acres, that is the Bayfront Bedwell Park. I think the investment in that area makes for a fine hand-in-hand experience for the individuals that are going to be living in this area. So I think it's appropriate in terms of density. I think it's appropriate in terms of the product type that's going to go there, which is residential, and then the forms of residential being for sale and for rent. So for those reasons, I am certainly supportive of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. Commissioner Riggs.
I would like to take the jump and recommend the actions per the staff report tonight. So that would be to adopt the resolutions to certify the final EIR and the CEQA findings, find for the use permit, including the community amenities, bird-friendly design requirement modification, architectural control, and recommend the approval to City Council for the below market rate housing agreement and the vesting tentative map. And then I'll just check with staff. Do you need us also to act on the heritage tree removal, or has that already been done?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Commissioner Riggs. So first, to clarify the motions, staff recommends individual motions for each resolution for this project, given that there is the initial action to certify the EIR that sets up the ability for the Planning Commission to act on the following two resolutions, and then one is an actual action that the Planning Commission is charged with. That's the use permit, architectural control, and then the BMR agreement and the vesting tentative map are recommendations to the council. So 3 resolutions would be staff's recommendation. To answer your your actual question, is no, the heritage tree removal permits were reviewed by the city arborist and conditionally approved pending final actions on the project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parada. In that case, I will revise my motion to adopt a resolution to certify the final EIR, including the adoption of the CEQA findings.
Thank you, Commissioner Riggs. I appreciate your efficiency in trying to get it all done, but we'll break it up. So a first from Commissioner Riggs to certify the final EIR and adopt the CEQA findings. Commissioner Barnes.
I will second that.
And a second from Commissioner Barnes. Don't believe we have further questions or discussion, so we will vote on that. Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Eric?
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs?
Yes.
I am also a yes, so that's 5 yeses, and the motion passes. And that was to certify the final EIR and adopt the CEQA findings. I believe the next action is to approve use permits and architectural control permit for a bonus level development and modifications to the bird-friendly design requirements. Commissioner Farrick.
So moved.
So first from Commissioner Farrick.
I'll second that, and allow me, if you would. Was the MMRP rolled into that? Was that the prior one? Do we need to articulate that for this?
Yes. No, thank you, Commissioner Barnes. Yes, the motion, the first one that we just voted on was to certify the final EIR, adopt the CEQA findings, and apologies, to adopt the MMRP. Do we need to?
Thank you. The resolution, it sounded like the motion that was voted on was to adopt the resolution, which includes the approval of the MMRP. So
Fantastic.
your vote did include the MMRP.
Okay, great. But thank you for clarifying, Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you. And with that, I will second the motion that we just had on the floor.
Okay, so we have a first from Commissioner Farrick and a second from Commissioner Barnes and Eric, I believe.
I'm sorry, did I double second you?
I think we're just so enthused about this. Approve the use permit and architectural control permit for a bonus level development and modifications to the bird-friendly design requirements. Commissioner Barnes.
Yes.
Commissioner Eric.
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs?
Yes.
I am also a yes. That's 5 yeses, and that resolution passes as well. And we'll move to our third action, which is a recommendation to the City Council to approve the below market rate housing agreements and vesting tentative map.
Can I make a quick comment first?
Commissioner Ferrick.
Thank you. Just to kind of underscore, I know I touched on it before, but I know there's reasons why a typical development that has affordable units, BMR units, should be sprinkled throughout, as it is in the apartment part of this project. But I really, really I think that this, the habitat part of this project will be kind of this most amazing part of this entire neighborhood and really have a lot of life. And I'm very excited about it. So just again, thank you for, taking a risk and putting through something that's not kind of an easy by right thing, because this is, I think, going to be much better as a result of having this unique habitat homeownership opportunity. So therefore, I will make the motion to recommend to council the BMR agreement.
Thank you for the comment and first, Commissioner Ferrick. Commissioner Eric.
I'm happy to second. And just to build on that comment, we'll say I extra appreciate that the Habitat for Humanity lot is in the center of the development. I think that is a very smart move and appreciated. Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Eric. Commissioner Riggs, are you?
Yeah, if I could just add briefly, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I was very much involved with Habitat 15, 20 years ago. And in fact, I may have worked on Sheila's project at that time. And we looked at a number of the aspects of how Habitat affected the neighborhoods that it worked in. And in my view, the most dramatic effect of a Habitat project was what it did to its neighborhood. It raised the level of interest of the neighbors and involvement in the neighbors, and it simply changed the community. I mean, one house remodel would do this. And a project like this is indeed the center of a community. So I think we have a lot to look forward to.
Thank you, Commissioner Riggs. I feel like maybe I cut short the discussion. So I'm going to look around and see if anyone wants to add any more comments before we vote. No? So a first and a second to make that recommendation to City Council. Commissioner Barnes.
And it goes without saying that this includes the proposed vesting tentative map as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
Got it. Yes.
Commissioner Eric?
Yes.
Commissioner Ferrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, so that's 5 yeses. And the resolution to recommend to City Council to adopt the BMR housing agreements and vesting tentative map is passes. And with that, thank you so much for your time and coming back a couple of times. I think you can tell we're all very excited about this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that, we'll close item F5. That's also the last item of the public hearing. For informational items, Mr. Parada.
Yes, thank you. A few informational items from staff. So the next Planning Commission meeting is Monday, September 11th. There is one item on that agenda. It is the Planning Commission's consideration of the certification of an EIR and a use permit artificial control for another bonus level development for a life science project at 1125 O'Brien Drive in the Bayfront area. And then these are back-to-back meetings. The next meeting after that is Monday, September 18th. And while the agenda is not finalized and the notice hasn't been sent out, staff is anticipating bringing the final 3 architectural control plans for the Willow Village master plan. So that would be parcel 3, a mixed-use building in generally the center of the site, as well as a publicly accessible park at the corner of, or the kind of southwestern corner of the project site along Willow Road, and the dog park more to the interior. So that would close out the architectural control plan review portion of the implementation of the Willow Village master plan. Those are tentative, just to clarify. Be happy to answer any questions, though.
Through the chair, I have a question. Mr. Parada, does that mean that we can retire the Planning Commission after September 18th?
No, I appreciate the sentiments. Staff does have a number of other projects in the works and work for the Planning Commission to embark on over the next couple months, especially with the implementation of the housing element. So appreciate the very funny, clever joke, Commissioner Riggs.
Commissioner Eric.
I'm not sure when is the appropriate time in this meeting to make this type of comment, so I apologize if it's not this time. I also think it's dangerous to extrapolate too much from the happenstance that is any one Planning Commission agenda meeting. But I did want to pick up on a comment that I made a few weeks ago when we reviewed the housing element about the space on the agenda taken up by single-family homes. And in a lot of cases, I think for good reason, the Planning Commission considers single-family homes, and certainly those are important. I also just want to point out that in this meeting, we reviewed 4 of them. 3 passed, I think, without a single comment. I think we see from the results of 123 Independence Drive that the involvement of the Planning Commission and time spent on projects like 123 Independence Drive really do improve the project, and I appreciate the history of this commission and the work that was done to improve that project. So I myself do not know nearly enough about the particulars of zoning to make any recommendations, and obviously we can't discuss it tonight for Brown Act reasons, but I plan to educate myself more about if there are things we can do with R1 zoning to reduce the amount of space that takes up on the Planning Commission's docket, because I think, quite frankly, there are better uses of our time and better ways to leverage staff's time. So I will end there.
Thank you. Commissioner Eric. No comments from staff. Or
Oh, I appreciate the comment. I think, we, as you mentioned, Brown Act reasons, a non-agendized item, we're not going to respond, but appreciate the sentiments.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Great. We'll adjourn the meeting then. Thank you, everyone.